Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here, as you guys can see up on the screen. Today, I want to talk a little bit about Sofi Technologies Incorporated. This is ticker symbol SOFI. And hey, the reason why we're talking about this one today is we finally had a green day for SoFi. We're up 1.74% on the day. That is nice. These have been very, very few and far between as of late. I know yesterday when we were talking about SoFi, we had just reached a new 52-week low. And yes, being up 1.74% after reaching a 52-week low isn't really that big of a deal. But on the bright side, hey, SoFi actually outperformed some of the major indices today. This is, I think, a good sign. Hey, Dow Jones is up 1.01, S&P up 1.12, NASDAQ up over 2%, which is really good to see, and the Russell was up 1.92%. So, SoFi was up less than the NASDAQ and Russell, but any day you're, outperforming the S&P, I think that's at least a pretty good day and at least a decent sign. Now, obviously, they need to put a couple of those days in a row. They need to put a couple of weeks of that in a row. They need to put a couple months of that in a row, because, if you zoom out on SoFi a little bit, like, hey, over a month, they're down 4%. Year to date, they're down 51%. In the last year, they're down 54%. And, the S&P is outperforming them in all of those time spans. So it hasn't really made sense to be in SoFi when obviously the S&P is out there. But obviously, a bet on SoFi is not necessarily a bet on anything in the short term. It is a bet on them in the long term. But in this video today, we're going to be going over all the latest for SoFi, talking about what's going on with them, some of the news in the market, all that good stuff as always. So definitely drop a like if you guys do enjoy this video. I would appreciate that a ton. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Of course, as always, there's going to be no financial advice in this video. I'm not telling you guys to buy anything or sell anything, just giving some of my thoughts and opinions on the news and what is going on with the stock. With that being said, let's get right into this one. Like I said, pretty decent day for SoFi, up another 0.53% after hours, so hopefully that means we have some momentum going into tomorrow. This is kind of a weird week because I believe the stock market is closed on Friday for Good Friday. So tomorrow is essentially our Friday, and we have a 3-day weekend, which, hey, especially in the current climate, in the current market, people don't necessarily love holding over a 3-day weekend, especially the more volatile and speculative stocks like SoFi. So I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow was kind of a nasty day, but we'll have to wait and see. We did get this article from Seeking Alpha. SoFi down 70% in the speculative buy zone. Seeking Alpha is obviously an interesting website. They have a ton of contributors, a ton of writers and stuff, so it's not like one voice, but Seeking Alpha has had a lot of negative stuff about SoFi. A lot of stuff, calling SoFi smoke and mirrors, or saying to stay away from them, or telling people not to buy SoFi. So the fact that they maybe have a positive piece about SoFi here, I think is kind of interesting news, and I wanted to dive in some of the numbers they post. So, they do say SoFi was recently hit with a double whammy of inflation risk and extension of the student loan moratorium. As a result, SoFi's valuation fell 70% since its 52-week highs of $24.95, and that's crazy. To think that within the past year we've been at $24.95, especially when today we're sitting at $7.61. Like, man, what a fall from grace. However, this guy says, I don't know, Juxtaposed Ideas is who's written by. However, we believe the sell-off is overblown given its stellar performance and robust business model. So here's our investment thesis. SoFi's growth and valuation were recently hit by the inflation risk and extension of the student loan moratorium at the same time. It had caused the company to reduce its 2022 revenue guidance. However, in our opinion, the resulting sell-off is overblown since the current climate will not persist indefinitely. And yes, that is the thing. All these different things, student loan moratorium, inflation, these are temporary. They are maybe really, really nasty temporary things that have pushed the stock down 70%. But is the student loan moratorium going to last forever? No, obviously not. Is inflation going to be a thing for the rest of our lives? No, not at this rate, at least. At some point it's going to calm down, especially at some point it's going to ease all this stuff. Hey, these are not changing SoFi's business model. These are not changing the things that SoFi is doing. Maybe it's making them make less money in the short term or even the medium term. But in the long term, if SoFi, still is able to execute on a lot of their high level ideas and high level goals and things that they're guiding on, then, a lot of this stuff will end up ultimately not mattering potentially. But yes, in addition, SoFi had done well for itself with a 72.8% year-over-year revenue growth in 2021, despite the ongoing moratorium in the segment operating at less than 50% of pre-COVID levels in the past 2 years. Given SoFi's recent cornerstone acquisition of thesis, we expect the headwinds to be temporary as SoFi realizes the transformative synergies and projected revenue growth going forward. I wanted to scroll down. It is a really, really good article, long, lots of graphs, charts, numbers, all this stuff. Really, really good. But at the bottom, they say, so is SoFi a buy, sell, or hold? And they have the SoFi projected revenue and net income. Again, in 2022, the revenue forecast mean consensus is at $1.43 billion, expected to be $2.14 billion in 2023, expected to be $2.83 billion in 2024. And then, that's also very, very important when they're expected to hit kind of that profitability in 2024. So now if you're buying in 2022, you still are, at least based off, assumptions and projections and stuff, still 2 years away from profitability. But depending on your timeline for investment stuff, 2 years could be a pretty short amount of time. Maybe you want to wait till 2023. Maybe you want to wait till, sometime in 2024, to see if this profitability is actually going to come to fruition. But if the company is able to hit on these profitability metrics and revenue guidance metrics, then, this stock has a big potential to be worth way more than $7 or whatever it is today in the future. But obviously that's just potential. It could potentially go way, way down even further as well. But SoFi is expected to report revenue growth at a CAGR of 42.55% over the next 3 years. In 2022, consensus estimates of the company will report revenues of $1.43 billion, representing 47.4% year-over-year growth. SoFi might also report net income profitability by 2024. However, with the recent extension of the student loan moratorium, we may expect further reduction in its revenues, assuming that it is extended in 2023 due to the impending midterm U.S. elections. However, given that the president is pushing for public service loan forgiveness, we may see 14.5% of the existing student loans cleared before the end of his term. SoFi is currently trading at an EV/NTM revenue of 4.9x, lower than its historical mean of 10.29. Stock's also trading at 748, down 70% from its 52-week highs. Though consensus estimates rate SoFi stock as attractive, now giving its undervaluation, we expect more volatility and retracement ahead due to inflation. Nonetheless, the dip still represents an excellent entry point for speculative investors, given its robust business model and performance thus far. So again, they are saying there are definitely still risks. There are definitely still downsides, but it is potentially a very, very high risk, high reward play. And maybe it's time, if you're willing to speculate, maybe it could possibly be time to start considering SoFi as a buy. Some of the stuff on the SoFi stock subreddit, people saying that SoFi desperately needs App Store visibility. This guy says he works in SEO for a living and admittedly know very little about the App Store search optimization. I was doing variations of searches in Apple's App Store for online banking, student loans. SoFi is nowhere to be found unless you search for SoFi. This should be organic member growth 101 for a company as large as SoFi. And then, the comments talk about this a little bit. He said, you sure about that? When was the last time you chose a bank, credit card, or loan provider based on randomly finding it in the App Store? Which I think is also a very, very fair point. But, there's some stupid people out there. The average person really isn't that smart. Maybe this is something people would be choosing stuff by. I don't know. I think for the most part, you would find your financial institution and then just download their app. But, maybe it's a good way to get some better free publicity or whatever. Yeah, ultimately, I don't really think this is a big deal, but maybe I'm way off here. Maybe you guys think something different. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions as well. But at least one guy, is like, hey, SoFi's not showing up on the App Store. But if SoFi continues to grow revenues and grow members and keep growing all this stuff, they're just going to naturally show up higher on the search results as more and more people download it. But yeah, there is definitely a lot of competition in the space. There is definitely other options. 26.81 entry LMAO. Anyone bought at a higher price? This guy posts, his buy orders, which is really funny. And again, crazy that, yes, this thing not that long ago was at 26.81. He has this from September 3rd of 2021. He has this from January 2nd of 2021 at 26.81, which, yeah, it's just crazy. Again, we're at 761 right now, and 16 months ago, 26.81. I mean, bad luck for him, obviously, or just bad investment by him. I don't know, but yeah, kind of crazy. We also had Forbes Advisor, 4.5 out of 5 for SoFi's mortgage loans. This is a nice big review from yesterday that you can add to your DD. Some of the pros about SoFi's mortgage loans are that the interest rates fall below the national average. Existing customers get discounts of up to $500, and closing time is just 28 days, which is shorter than average. Some of the cons is that SoFi does not currently offer FHA, VA, or USDA loans. I would say that is a pretty big con. Obviously, FHA loans, especially these days, are pretty popular. The minimum credit score is 620, which is higher than some lenders who offer FHA and VA. I don't think that's that big of a con. I mean, 620 is not that high. Minimum mortgage amount is $100,000, which eliminates borrowers who need smaller loans, and that I would actually say is a decent con. But these pros are definitely very, very good, and I thought this was cool to hear. That Forbes Advisor thinks SoFi's mortgage loans are a 4.5 out of 5. Not too bad there. And then also some of the latest short interest numbers. 20% short interest for SoFi just kind of shows, a lot of the short interest going on, a lot of the different kind of incentives for people out there who are trying to push the stock lower, who are profiting off pushing the stock lower. Now, on one hand, I'm like, yes, this stock is at 52-week lows. It's down 70% from all-time highs. You're going to get a lot of shorting in that happening. There's been a lot of money to make on shorting SoFi, but then, now that we are already down 70%, are those people shorting it, trying to push it down even further? Does it make sense to push it down even further? Is, some of the short interest going on, keeping SoFi from going on some kind of big major run? Now, I don't think that's the case right now because the market just hasn't been very great recently. So I don't think it would make sense for SoFi to just go on a run while nothing else in the market is going on a run. But I'm also not surprised it's super shorted because, again, we are down so massively from those all-time highs. There's definitely been a lot of money to make on shorting it. But yeah, I mean, a pretty not like GameStop or nothing like that, but still a pretty highly shorted company. And maybe it's something keeping it down in the short term that could help it reach higher highs in the future when it's not getting shorted so heavily. But who knows? Pretty much it for this video today, guys. I'm going to drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate that so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about SOFI. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe, stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.